Forests are living carbon capture machines that are evolved and designed to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and store that carbon dioxide in the forest.
Already, forests are one of the United States' greatest resources when it comes to fighting climate change. The more than 700 million acres of forests that cover the United States absorb about 800 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent per year. But that carbon-absorbing capacity is not guaranteed. Added stressors from climate change like drought, wildfire, extreme weather, and pests mean that without intervention, the ability for the nation's forests to capture carbon may decrease by as much as a third by the middle of the century. Already, the dry forests of the western U.S. emit more CO2 than they remove from the atmosphere. With intervention, though, we have the potential to increase annual uptake of CO2 in forests by hundreds of millions of tons. Dr. Sarah Cooling, who is lead author of Forest Management in the Roads to Removal report, examines what exactly that means.
For our study, we broadly consider there's three main approaches or levers that we could pull to increase the total removal capacity and storage capacity of forests. The first is increasing the total amount of forested area or the total amount of direct air capture forest facilities that we have within the United States. The second is maintaining and managing those forests in a way that increases and maintains their efficiency at removing and storing carbon dioxide. And the third is creating forests that will be resilient to all the future climate stressors and threats that they face in the future, but also today to protect those carbon stocks that we have.
Now, which of these three levers is going to be most effective for carbon dioxide removal is different for different types of forests and different parts of the country. Dr. Mark Ducey, Sarah's co-author in the report, explains why.
All of those levers play a role, but exactly which lever is most important really does depend what kinds of forests we're talking about and where we are in the country. We decided to illustrate how some of these levers work that we really needed to tunnel in on a few case studies to give the depth and the context and to illustrate the factors that matter. We looked at the Southeast U.S., where a really important lever can be expanding forests onto marginal agricultural land. We looked at the dry interior West. Is there a carbon benefit to trying to manage forests so that they are less susceptible to catastrophic fire? And then in the Northeast U.S., there are some challenges around timber management. And can we do a better job of managing our northeastern forests for those larger diameter, longer-lived trees that give us higher value and longer-lived wood products? So in all three of those case studies, we can illustrate about what the carbon benefit is, the kinds of changes that we need to make, and how those depend on local conditions.
We found that if we planted new pine tree seedlings across 2.1 million hectares in the southeastern United States, and then we did that in 2025, that by 2050, we could capture somewhere between 1.5 and 1.78 billion tons carbon dioxide. In the western dry forests, we saw that by applying fire-resilient forest management treatments to about 500,000 hectares of forest land that are both at high risk of wildfires in the future, but also within and surrounding human homes and places of work, that we could see net climate benefits of almost 16 million tons carbon dioxide equivalent by 2050. For southern New England and southeastern New York, we found that applying regeneration-focused management treatments or treatments that promote the growth of a diverse future forest could end up leading to net climate benefits of 68 million tons carbon dioxide by 2050.
Just as strategies are different, the costs and co-benefits of forest management vary across the three study cases. A unique feature of the Roads to Removal report is that it takes into consideration broader benefits and impacts than simply the cost and CO2 removal capacity of a given intervention. Dr. Kim Mayfield, who is lead author of the report's Energy, Equity, and Environmental Justice Impacts Analysis, explains.
When it comes to forest management for carbon dioxide removal and storage in the United States, what really matters, it comes down to who owns the forest. For example, the forest can be owned by a public agency, so it's really a public good serving public benefits, or it can be owned privately, in which case we have different families or companies that may own that forest land. And in the report, we analyze places where we can do forest management in a way that preserves it for the public good while also keeping homes and people safe in those areas. And then on the private side, we analyze what types of people own the most woodland across the United States and how can we encourage the diversity of America's people to all benefit from forest management practices.
So unlike a lot of carbon dioxide removal technologies or even natural climate solutions, forests are particularly important because they provide us these suite of sort of non-carbon benefits. And again, that makes the challenges and opportunities very great for managing forests because forests are vital for biodiversity and wildlife. They clean our air and water. They provide people and societies fuel and food and fiber resources. And they also provide us a place for recreation, or they create places that are culturally, spiritually, and aesthetically important to us as people and communities. And so for all these reasons that we need to think about managing forests in ways that they promote their climate resiliency, as well as increasing their capacity to remove and store carbon dioxide.
Forests are a big part of the answer, but they're not the whole answer. In fact, when we look at what we're going to need to do by mid-century, forests are only going to work out to be about 10% of the answer. We're going to need other tools. We're going to need other technologies. But forests are out there now. They're already deployed, in a sense, and we already have knowledge about how to use them better for the challenge that's in front of us. If we start now using the forests we have, sequestering the carbon that we can, over the next several decades, that's millions and millions and millions and millions of tons of carbon that we already have a head start.
To learn more about the diverse approaches available for carbon removal in the United States, or to download the report, visit roadstoremoval.org.